Let me quickly walk you through the agenda for this session. We'll begin by quickly understanding why we need file handling. Later, we'll move on to understanding the types of files. And guys, this is very interesting. Next, I'll walk you through all of the concepts of how files are handled using Python. We'll be making use of the code first approach to ensure that we understand code at every point of time. We'll end the session by checking out how Edureka is helping learners across the globe so we can make sure you can get started as soon as possible and make your learning fun. So let's begin by quickly walking you guys through why we require file handling. Well guys, think about this situation. You have a server running and you need to give access to someone who needs to access it remotely, right? Or basically you need to work with these files in general and say you need to have some import into your program where you're actually configuring an input for it. Well, if I had to answer this personally, how would I go about it? I would be using files for a lot of my deep learning models to import my datasets into the program at all the time. So basically by doing this, I'll be making use of files a lot. So coming back to the basics again. How can we input something into Python? The standard input? The usual keyboard input, right? So you can key in anything you want. Well, there's another case as well. Maybe even command line arguments to input some parameters into the code, correct? But what if you had to read lots and lots of data which is not practical to type in at every point of time, or even that it doesn't make sense at all to type it all the time? The easiest way out of this here is to actually store whatever input you want in one place and keep using it as long as your requirement is met. So what's the answer? The answer is files, guys. So guys, this concept is actually very easy. I'm sure everyone who's joined will take away some really interesting stuff about Python that you can practically use. Working with files basically opens another door among thousands. And each door with Python opens up to n number of opportunities again. So now that we're good with this and we started off on a really high roll, let's keep it going. Next, we'll be taking a look at some of the types of files available in Python. So we have images, we have audio, we have video, we have text, we have script, and so much more, right? There is a key difference here I want you guys to note. Check this out. Windows supports all of these files that I told and more. Well, virtually unlimited to be honest. But again, I won't get ahead of myself here because there are limitations here as well. Now check out Python. There are two types of files, binary and text. So whatever is not text is binary, as simple as that. So either a file gets to be a binary which contains obviously zeros and ones, or it can have some literal text. Well, text as in strings or anything valid for that matter. Text files are structured as a sequence of lines where each line includes a sequence of characters, and this is what we call as code or syntax, right? And every line is terminated with a special character, what we call as the EOL. What is the EOL? Guys, it's the end of line character. A binary file is any type of file which is not a text file, as I mentioned. And because of their nature, binary files can only be processed by an application that knows and understands this file's system structure. In other words, they must be applications that can read and interpret binary, right? And now that we know what are the types of files are, so we can start looking into more of this. Guys, formally speaking, I think it can be consolidated as the operations performed on a file, right? So what all can we do? Check this out. It's called as the CRUD operations. What is CRUD? Well, create, read, update, and delete, guys. These are the operations which can be done with files. Well, again, there are many other operations as well, such as copying a file, changing the properties of a file, or anything. But for simplicity's sake, I have planned to keep this session really easy for all of the audience. So let us dive into Python now. So let us quickly see how we can go about understanding the file handling capabilities of Python. Check out this flow diagram to give you a quick picture of what needs to be done. First, we create a file and later we open that file. We work on the file. Well, working on it is basically reading or writing or anything for that matter. And lastly, we close the file when we are done using it. Coming to Python now. Creation of a file can be done manually by the user or through Python. For now, let us consider that we will do it manually by going into the location and creating a file, say like a text file. Later in this session, I'll show you how easy it is to make Python create the file for us. So make sure you stay tuned till the end. So now we concentrate on how we can open a file with Python. Guys, it is very simple. So we have an inbuilt function called as the open function, which is used for this exact purpose. The open function takes in two parameters as seen here. One is the file name and other is the mode. And this on your screen is the syntax for the open function. So, what do the two parameters mean? One is the file name that you want to open. It can be anything at this point of time, right? So, it has to contain the extension of the file type as well. So, this is compulsory and important. So, make sure you keep this in your mind. And second, we have the mode. We know this means something that has to do with opening the file, right? So check the screen. So basically, these are various modes available to open a file. We can open it in the read mode, the write mode, the append mode, and even the create mode as well. Pretty straightforward. But do note that the default mode is always the read mode. And guys, note that you can open a file in read mode only if it exists as well. If you try to read a file or something that doesn't exist, then Python will greet you with a beautiful error message. And in addition, if you want to specify if the file should be handled as a binary or a text mode, then along with the mode as well, we can actually push in two categories for it. Check this out. So we have T for text and B for binary. T is the default value and B is for binary modes. So we can have something as WT. So what does it mean? So it basically says that the file needs to be opened in the write mode and the file that the Python opening is a text file. So we're basically making the job of Python to be really easy in this case. So check out the example code I have here for you guys. Even if we do not give a mode, as I said, the default is the read mode. So these two tiny snippets I have for you are one and the same. And yet, make sure something exists before reading that, guys, or else you're sure to hit that error. So check this out, right? So I have f equal to open and the file name is demofile.txt. I don't have a mode here. This is exactly equal to having the read mode in the next example. And it is as simple and straightforward as that. So now we know how we can actually create a file and open it, right? So let's begin working on it. Let us start with creating on how we can actually do a read operation using Python. So the read operation is very easy, guys. So basically, just like all the other functions and handling files in Python, we make use of the read function for this very purpose. But then again, there are so many ways to read a file too. So let me break it down for you, all right? So we can do many things here. We can read an entire file or read a few characters or read a few lines or any number of characters and lines together and so on. Check out this example code here. So we have a variable, right? We call it file. And then we are opening the file. It's called textfile.txt and opening it in the read mode. Later, we are actually going to make use of the print function to read the contents of the file and print the same on the Python console. Now, similar to the previous code that I just showed you, we have something slightly different here. Can you notice that 5 on your screen? What do you think the 5 indicates here, guys? Let me help you out. So it basically tells the Python interpreter to read the first 5 characters from the file and nothing else. Now check the old syntax. So here we don't have the 5. So we are basically telling the interpreter to read every single valid character present in our file and print it out for us. So you got a good picture of what is happening with the file now? Well, let's quickly take a tour into seeing this practically. So I'll open up my PyCharm now, which I use as the IDE to work with Python, where I'll show you the code for all of these. Guys, you can basically make use of any IDEs that you're comfortable with and even the console as well. It is your call. I am comfortable working with PyCharm, so I'll go ahead with that. So let me quickly open up the IDE and we can see the basic code to read the file. So as you can check out, I'm here in my PyCharm right now. Importing the OS module is the first line. This is currently being unused right now, but I'm going to talk about this in the future session. So basically, we're opening a file, right? So we have a variable file. We're going to open it and we're providing the entire path to the file present. So here, the file is demofile.txt. This is the name of the file. W is the write mode that I already told you about. Let me quickly go ahead and run this. That ran fine. But you cannot see anything on the output, right? That is because we just opened it, overwrote everything that is present in the file and we just closed it. So we're not seeing absolutely anything here. Check out example 2. Importing the OS module, file equal to open. Again, we are providing the same file. Here we had write mode and now we are having the read mode. And here we are actually printing it using the file.read. Again, I'll be walking you through file.read in a second, but right now all you need to know is this will print the output on the screen for us. If I go ahead and actually run it, nothing is going to be printed. Why do you think this happened? This happened because we actually used the write mode and we actually blanked out the entire file. Quick fix is to actually open the file. As you can see, nothing is present there. So let me type in something. So we love Edureka. Let me save that, quickly minimize it, go back to my PyCharm. Now as soon as I run this, it is supposed to give me that exact output which says we love Edureka. Perfect, right? So with absolutely 3 to 2 lines of code, you can actually print something on your screen. How simple is this, guys? Well, check out the next case. So again, it's the same thing, opening the file, using the read mode, and then you're printing file.read of 5. Guys, file.read of 5, right? So I actually explained this to you. So let me just go ahead and run it. We'll check the output. We got the first 5 character, right? So W, E, a blank space, L and O. Let us try to make it more nice to look at. Let me just quickly open up the file. Hello world. This is a perfect candidate for our example. Yep, the quick typo. Save it. Exit, back into the code. Now I'm going to run this old code, right? So you're going to get the entire output here. Check it out. Hello world. Perfect. Because we have read of blank. Now we're going to actually run this. Because we're telling the interpreter to read only the first 5 characters of the first line for us, it is just printing hello. How simple is this, guys? So now that we are actually done with this, let's quickly jump back to the presentation to see what's next. Well guys, next I want you guys to check out this syntax, right? So this is what I love about Python. Amazing readability, and you can almost guess what it means, and you can be certain of it, say 90% of the time. So we saw how to read characters. Now let us look at how we can read lines. Well, readLine will actually read each of the lines and give us a line by line output. ReadLine of 3 will tell the Python interpreter to read only the third line and absolutely nothing else. But what if we wanted to return every line in a file which is properly separated and nice to look at? Well, you can actually use the same function only in a new form. This is called as file.readLines function. Again, let's take a quick jump back into the code so we can see this in action. So check out example 4 on your screen. I have the same file demofile.txt. I'm opening it in the read mode and I'm using readLine. As soon as I go ahead and run this, I will have the same output as hello world. Okay, let us step it up a little. Let me just change this. Hello world. We love Python. And we love Edureka. So I have 3 lines here. All good, right? So I'm going to save it. I'm going to close it. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to run the read line. Again, we're reading only the first line. Cool? Check out example 5 now. This is where things get interesting. Import again, it's all the same, guys. So basically, instead of the read line, I have read lines over here. So the S is extra and it's going to read all of these lines and it is going to put it in a really beautiful way for us to see. Check this out. Hello world is an entity. We love Python is an entity. We love Edureka as another entity. And that's nice to look at, right? So instead of just getting a gibberish output of everything in the line, separating it actually makes a lot of sense. So now that we're done with this, another quick hop back to our presentation. So guys, next we need to check out a tiny concept on how we can actually loop over a file object. Well, this is another simple concept, so let me teach you this. We're using the for loop for this very purpose as shown. But why would we want to do this? When you want to read or return all the lines from a file in a more memory efficient way and in a faster manner, you need to use the loop over method. So the advantage of using this method is that the related code is both really simple and easy to understand, right? So let me take another quick jump into PyCharm and check the single snippet out. So we are back into PyCharm and check out this for loop example I have for you. So again, we're sitting on the same file, demo file.txt, reading it in the mode. So for every line in our file object, print read lines. So it is going to print the output for us containing all of the documents of our file. As you can see, we love Python and we love Edureka. That's really simple, right? And with this, we are actually done understanding how to open the files and read them in multiple ways. Next, we need to actually take a look at the write operation, which is again very simple and almost similar to the read method. Let's start. Writing to a file is as simple as using the write function, guys, similar to the read again. So to write to an existing file, we make use of two modes. One is the append and the other is write, which we already checked out earlier. By append, we actually add the contents of the write to a new existing content. And with write, we just add it to the blank file. Now, I am sure there is a question in your mind right now. So what if the file that I'm trying to work on is not blank? What if it contains some previous data and we make use of W instead of append? Guys, this will basically delete everything in the file and overwrite it with what we have just put. And this is exactly the first example case that I actually showed you. So make sure that you use the mode very wisely in every situation, right? So here's a quick example before we dive right back into code. As you can see, we open a file in the write mode and we write two lines into it and we close it. It is as simple as that, right? Now again, taking you back to PyCharm and let me walk you through the code. So guys, we are back into PyCharm right now, so check out the first example I have for you. Import OS, I already explained. Opening it in the mode of write. So since we already have some content, all of that content will be overridden with hello world and hello world again. So we're opening it, we're using file.write to write two content into it, and then we're going to close it. Let me run this. Again, no output because we are not printing it to our console. How do we check if everything is working? Open the demo file. Hello world and hello world again, right? So this is exactly what we wanted. But then again, this looks a bit gibberish as I told you, right? So we use read lines to actually make it look nice for us. Heading back to PyCharm again. Check out the next example I have for you. So now this is to prove that we are actually overwriting it again, which I've already told you and it is simple, but still let me walk you through this. So we're working on the same file, we're using the W mode and then we're writing it to it saying oops, we have overwritten it. Run it, it ran, no output, but in the sense the file is changed. So it says oops overwritten instead of hello world and that old message that we printed. Let me head back to the PyCharm again. And this is for creation and we'll be coming back to this in just a second. So let's quickly go back to our presentation and then we're going to be coming back to PyCharm again. So we're down to the last two concepts that we will check out in this session. The first one among that is for us to create a new file using Python. Well guys, even for the creation of the file, we need to make use of the open method. We already know that A is used for append and W is used for write. And now we have X, which is used to create a file. But do note that you cannot create two files of the same name, guys. So basically it means that you cannot create a file which already exists. Check out the example on your screen and you will definitely get a better picture of it right there. So you cannot have two files with the same name, testfile.txt. This is not right. So again, Python will give you a beautiful error message and it won't be so beautiful at the end of it. Let me dive back to PyCharm and we can check out the example over here. Let me change this. We have something else, right? So let me type edureka.txt. I'm going to print new file into edureka. Opening it, we are opening it in the X mode, so we are actually creating this file physically. Write mode to write something into it and close it. So as on it, no output. Check out the file. Where is the file called edureka? It is here. New file of edureka. So it's perfect, right? Let me quickly head back to the presentation and we can check out what's next. And then the next simple concept I have for you guys is showing you on how deletion operation works with respect to files using Python. Guys, deleting a file is very simple and straightforward. We'll require the os.remove function just for this purpose. So yes, importing the os module is a compulsion here. I have been using it all along because it is just a good programming habit to use the os module when you're playing around with the file system. The biggest mistake I have seen people do is that they usually go on to delete a file which doesn't exist. Again, Python pushes in an error message and that is not good at the end of the day, right? So it is very vital to know for sure that the file exists. To do this, we just check if the path exists and if it does, cool, remove the file. Else, print that the file doesn't exist so you cannot remove it. What does this say? Guys, this is a very simple case of an exception handled by the user and this is a really good programming habit too. So all good, but can we delete a folder? Yes, we definitely can. A folder with all the content inside it can be deleted using the rmdir command. What does rmdir stand for? It basically stands for removing directory and the parameter here is basically the path. And by the path it includes the name of the folder which needs to be removed. And this is all of the operations you can do with Python by making use of files. Let me quickly conclude the session for you guys. So we started by checking out the different types of files and why we need to use files, right? So we also saw the different types of files again and how we can work with each of these types of files and all of the operations involved.